But we weren't a venture capital funded business. We just bootstrapped this whole thing with the money we made from the couriers. We did this really on the cheap. And, it started with one company, Office Express, but I think by the end we bought 62 companies around the world, and we're like the largest dispatch organization in New York and London and in many other cities. And so quite an example of starting small and becoming global. We started out all with radios, but we ended up using, connecting the computers to pagers and essentially text messaging. That was a bit of a battle, right? We had to learn how to interface.
Every message that went out was recorded to a text file. So if it got lost, we could go and look at the file and see what was happening. It was leading edge at the time, and all of it was done on, as you say, it was very much done on the cheap. We didn't have any corporate offices or anything like that. I remember one of our offices was like above a nightclub. And so we were living there and working in this like almost derelict space above Midnight Espresso. And like, it was, there'd be constant music playing and stuff. It was just, it was very, very, down market sort of work. But, we just did it off the seat of our pants, and we built this thing and it worked.
So it's interesting. People associate me and us with, sort of Silicon Valley, but it didn't start in Silicon Valley. It started in Wellington. It spread and, went through Silicon Valley. But ironically, the technology we worked on, one of the kids that we worked with was a guy named Jack Dorsey. And from that, we learned a lot about text messaging. What you want to just comment as what happened when Jack took what we were doing and basically made it a more general solution? What did that become?
We had some sort of like an admin interface that we built in our system. And I remember asking you about like, what sort of security you put? Oh, don't worry about this. Put this hardwire password into it. So I did. And of course, Jack bypassed it. He found out what the password was and hacked into it and said, your security sucks. And he got, oh yeah, basically. And so you got him involved with making our back end a bit more secure. And I remember like this was, it would have been about 2000 that I had lunch, I think it was in a little seedy cafe in San Francisco. And he was sitting there and he grabbed like a napkin and started drawing these things talking about status updates. And so his vision for how people could sort of like share with other people what they were doing, and it wouldn't just be people, it might be like the city's electricity supply or stock levels in supermarkets, all sorts of things. But it was this idea of like you had a status and you could share that status with other people. And a couple of years later, that became Twitter. We thought he was crazy, but a couple of years later, he built Twitter. So yeah.